And Pam, I don't know Pam. Hi, Pam. And hello, Regis.
Just leave. Just leave. Uh,
Okay. And so back to our book. There we go. All right, let us get these participants now. Where? I hate the way they move things around on Zoom. There we go. Now we're cool. All right. So yeah, so Dove says his power is going to be off for a while. So, but we all know how that is. It's going to be off for 2 hours and 4 hours later, 6 hours later. No, just kidding. That's probably not what's going to happen. Anyway, good morning, everybody. We are reading Never Forget to Laugh, Personal Recollections of Bill Thetford, co-scribe of A Course in Miracles, and this is by Carol Howe. And it's all about the uh, co-scribe of A Course in Miracles, Bill Thetford, which I just said. um, but it's all about his life before, during, and after the Course in Miracles came to him uh, with through Helen. Okay, so looks like do I have us marked in the? Oh yeah, this one won't let me mark the page, so I'm not sure where we are. But I am going to, as per usual, go back one page. Okay. I'm just going to start reading. How's that sound, Sharon?
Yeah, that's good. Mel, he says this brief description of NF. What was that? Was that the
Okay.
Myers-Briggs?
It was the Myers-Briggs. Yeah, there's a whole
Okay.
discussion of how he got involved with the Myers-Briggs, working with I think it was Dr. Briggs, and the it was all about his what he came up with in or from in the Myers-Briggs. Now, I think that's a really, nifty way of defining the ego. It definitely has some measurable parameters, etc. Uh, I'm not too sure that it's a good definition of what I am or what you are, but it sure shows you what the ego is. Um, so we had just finished reading that part, and so uh, I'll start over here on this page then. One advantage of living several decades, whether we know our personality type or not, is that we can see patterns in our lives and how seemingly accidental, unrelated experiences all contribute to our unfolding awareness, a prerequisite for healing the fearful ideas we hold about ourselves. A Course in Miracles promises that our lives are not random and that those who are to meet will meet. Although we each have an individualized curriculum in terms of where we go, who we meet, the jobs we hold, the abilities we develop, the places we live, and the lessons we encounter, the Course assures us that all encounters are designed for our maximal and mutual healing. This is a very reassuring idea, and embracing it allies anxiety about the correctness of our decisions. Keeping in mind ACIM's major teaching of forgiveness, all circumstances become perfect venues for its practice. We may never fully recognize all the reasons for acquiring our particular skills, but we can learn to trust that there are no accidents. And boy, I'll tell you, that's for me. I'm like, what in the hell? I had so many crazy different um, uh, things. I mean, I was uh, I've gone through all sorts of different careers and studies and um, been this and that and the other thing, all very different things. And I know it's all to come up to something here, but what in the world does all working with the nuclear weapons uh, you know system have to do with A Course in Miracles? Although I see a lot of stories that happened during that time that I can really relate to, and I did actually during that time have uh, visions and prophetic dreams and stuff. So, whatever it was, that had something to do with it. But, I mean, you just think about all the different things that you've done in your life, and you got to say, how does this lead to my spiritual awakening? But then, of course, the course tells us, which is one of Dove's and our favorite paragraphs from lesson 135, what could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? Perhaps you have misunderstood his plan, for he would never offer pain to you. But your defenses did not let you see his loving blessing shine in every step you ever took. While you made plans for death, and in brackets, she has put, or the strengthening of the ego, end of brackets, he led you gently to eternal life. In 1950, Bill did not know any of this. And while I was reading that, before I go on, last night our Monday evening group was phenomenal, just amazing. Amy wasn't there, and we just started talking about some different things that we had been reading, and turns out that things that we have been seeing all collide in one very specific point, and that is that everything that is happening here is for God. It is an expression of God, an expression of love, and it's all perfect. None of it is a mistake. None of it is broken. None of it has gone wrong. Nothing. Everything here is happening just as it is meant to happen. Was meant to happen. Couldn't be happening any other way. Just like this paragraph just said. So what couldn't you accept if you knew that, that's the case? Everything that's happening here is for our own best interest. And I think that's what you were saying too, Sharon. So, do you have any comments?
Well, everything is for us. I mean, but for me, took a while to see that. It certainly isn't when you open the book and you're going through stuff, but, we are all being perfectly led all the time. And, that can be tough for people that are really suffering to hear. But it's not an individual that's planned this. This is the eye of consciousness, the infinite. And that's who we are. We're not people. The people don't even exist. But Holy Spirit, you could say that is another name for it. Just fall in love with Holy Spirit, because that's really who we are. So when Dove says that, he's saying, what could you not accept? That it's you, but I think what confused me for a long time is the fact that I thought the me was me, Sharon. And no, there is no me, Sharon. So that's all.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what confused me a lot? Because this is a common theme amongst Course in Miracles students and teachers, is that something has really gone wrong. There's a big idea that this should not be happening, and we should not be here, and we should be, if we were in our right minds, we wouldn't be here experiencing any of these things. And then the question would have to be, well, why the hell are we doing it then? And it is because it is for God. It's God's expression, and it's a kind of a uh, it's an opportunity for us to actually choose love. Whereas if we were not in this world, we didn't have these bodies, we didn't have this form to deal with, and all we had to deal with was uh, love, unconditional love, from the entire universe, then we would we would want it, we would love it, it would be wonderful, but it wouldn't be because of our choice. It would be because that's just the way things are, and you have nothing to, that's just the way it is. And, this world is an opportunity for us to actually see the alternatives and actually make a choice. And that's what I was saying last night. I was really getting that for the most part, um, all we're doing is, the what is the fair thing? God gave us a choice. And, so we're not being held hostage by God. We're not being kept in a prison, even if it is a prison of love. We actually have autonomy and a free choice, and we can choose um, to see peace or to see fear. And, but if fear didn't exist, there would be no place, nothing to choose. If the idea of sin didn't exist, there'd be nothing to choose. If the idea of death didn't exist, there'd be nothing to choose. You would just
Right.
be. And
Right, because there's opposites now. We're in duality, and duality is always the case of opposites. So,
right. And there's a reason for that. It's not just whimsical, la la la, let's just have some opposites so we can all suffer. No, it's not that. It is, let's have some opposites so that we can see that what we have really is the best thing. What we have is really what we want. Glorian has her hand up. Go ahead, Glorian.
Good morning, sisters and everyone. Yeah, last night's meeting was just so fabulous. And I think we all sat there and just felt enveloped in the sweetness. And I began contemplating that again this morning in my meditations. And it just came very crystallized that what we were talking about is the acceptance of the impersonal love of God. And that's all that there is. And everything else gives us an opportunity to choose that impersonal love. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
thank
thank you for
you.
that,
Yeah.
Gloria. And yeah, exactly. And I was just thinking, I didn't even record that last night because Amy doesn't like to have the recording or be on YouTube, but Amy didn't come in, and I just didn't put it on. So, I think it was just for us, and of course, talking about it now and experiencing it. But it was beautiful, and this is what a gift this study is. Thank you all for being here with me in this world, in the brothers in arms here together. Let's see. So in 1950, Bill, I already read that, but I'll read it again. In 1950, Bill did not know any of this, and at 27, did not have the advantage of age from which to view his seemingly arbitrary choices. Speaking of his inclination to study psychology, he often commented that he had observed many psychologists and their endless competing theories, but that nothing really seemed to come of them. He saw no one integrating them in a way that actually changed the nature of one's life experience. One of his favorite sayings was that the emperor has no clothes, a prescient observation, as many years later he would read the section on unhealed healers in the course. And here's a quote: such evident inconsistencies account for why no one has really explained what happens in psychotherapy. Nothing really does. Nothing real has happened to the unhealed healer, and he must learn from his own teaching. Wow, that's very interesting. So,
In the world of form, it does help, though. I mean, therapy is very good if you're still believing you're a person, because it puts you in touch with, like, it does nothing in reality, but,
right.
I mean, it really doesn't because we're not people, but,
Well, it doesn't, not just because we're not people, but because what we're being therapized about is a story.
right.
And therapy is good if it brings you to the place where you see, oh, this is just a story I'm acting out. It's not even really what's happening at all. But most therapy doesn't come to that. Most therapy comes to, here's the cause of, here's why you're doing that. And why you're doing it doesn't matter as long as you're
Right.
still doing it.
Yeah.
So anyway, would you like to read on?
Yeah, give me a sec. I just got to pull it up. Where'd you stop?
Chapter 3.
About the time Bill felt his interesting work opportunities in Chicago were complete, he was recruited by the Central Intelligence Agency, the country's newly reorganized intelligence service. All of Bill's education and training up to that point had involved working with leading edge scientists, innovators in science and medicine. Because his mentors and colleagues were well known, and publishing is always an integral and necessary aspect of academia, he had become widely recognized and respected throughout his field as a result of his own publications and others to which he contributed. Thus, he was also easy to track even before the age of computers and modern day surveillance. A friend of mine and Bill's, conversant with how the CIA operates, indicated they had levels of connections back then, far beyond what we might imagine, to identify potential recruits who could prove useful to the agency. Clearly, Bill fell into the useful category. Although working for the CIA would seem implausible choice of work for him, it turned out to be essential for his path. And that is the truth. See, now here it is. Here it is. Like all the stuff that he's doing is leading him to truth, because he's opening. I mean, you can get to truth without doing this work, but it's saying here, although working for the CIA would seem implausible choice of work for him, it turned out to be essential for his path. And what I see is that everything that happened to this mind was necessary to bring me where I am right now. So I think that's what this is saying, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's saying. Because Bill was like I always say this, like the Forrest Gump of
Right.
the course. I mean, he went through all sorts of crazy things and was involved in. He was there at the very first nuclear reaction, and he knew Enrico Fermi. That's to me just mind blowing.
Right. He's just first of all, him and Helen were brilliant. They were blessed to have brilliant brains. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, I just feel like, and the other thing is that I sense such warmth from him. Again, I'm projecting, so it doesn't matter, but
Well, I mean, obviously it's because you're experiencing that warmth because that's how you are. So,
right.
brilliant brain, warm heart, there you are. So, we
Look what he did in the Manhattan Project, the job he had wandered into, ostensibly. Okay, what happened there? I lost the screen. Did
uh-oh.
something happen to you? Okay. The Manhattan Project, the job he had wandered into, ostensibly to earn money for living expenses and medical school, had provided Bill with a high security clearance. His work with Carl Rogers, with its emphasis on relationships. Now, this is really the course, because the course is a spiritual text on relationships. And this whole play is life having a relationship with itself. And we have to get out of the way because it's not about Sharon or Lynn or Glorian or anybody on here. It's about just life or God having a relationship. Fed the soul of this young NF, and he had gained some skill with early biofeedback techniques using scientific equipment then available. I think I tried biofeedback like twice. Did you ever try it, Lynn?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, we did it in school, so it was something that was part of a class. But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting.
When
But
I started, when I was 25, I went to my therapist. That's when I started with her, and she did biofeedback with my ex-husband. He had a lot of anxiety, but I didn't really get into it. She did do hypnosis too, which was helpful. Okay, so then it says, next he has become, like if you look at Dove's path, okay, he did ask, like there's always things in our path that are taking us very softly on the road to truth. Anyway, next he had become conversant with tests and measurements, construction at the Michael Reese Hospital, and all of these combined to grant him entry to the next important chapter of his life, work with the CIA. Outwardly, well, he was following a career path. In retrospect, we see he was led through the necessary steps, including all that emerged during his time with the CIA, towards his major spiritual fulfillment of co-authoring A Course in Miracles. It's interesting. Some people, and I don't even want to bring this up because it's judgment, I think, but some people think that he was the scribe, okay, and they get angry that it was then Ken and Helen. And I don't know why it even matters, but the truth is that every single book that you read of A Course is the right book because it's saying the same thing over and over and over. Like the ego always wants to find the better book, the better translation, the better this, the better that. But it's really, I feel like the Course's text is phenomenal, but the lessons is what undoes this mind. Anyway, it all seems so obvious. Okay, watching Bill's destiny unfold after that fact, we can see that events and circumstances were always in good order, leading I can't pronounce that. Can you pronounce it?
Inexorably.
Yeah, to his choice for peace of mind. Yet there is no step along the road that anyone takes by chance. It has already been taken by him, although he has not yet embarked on it. For time but seems to go in one direction, we but undertake a journey that is over, yet it seems to have a future still unknown to us. Time is a trick. I love this. A sleight of hand, a vast illusion in which figures come and go as if by magic. Yet there is a plan behind appearances that does not change. The script is written. When experience will come to the end, your doubting has been set. For we but see the journey from the point at which it ended, looking back on it, imagining we make it again. Reviewing mentally what has gone by. If we wanted to just sit and just review this whole world, I mean, it's already over. It was probably the Big Bang happened, the thought came up, this world came, and to try to understand something absolutely so extraordinary from a limited mind is impossible. We just know that a virtual reality is what is happening right now. Anyway, does anybody else want to read?
I
Doug,
just wanted to
Gloria,
say
Regis.
something there about
Okay.
this, which the whole this if students of Course in Miracles really understood these two paragraphs that you just read, so there's no step along the road that anyone takes but by chance. It has already been taken by him, although he has not yet embarked on it. It's already done. For time but seems to go in one direction. And this is what we think. We think that we're moving along in a horizontal direction, chugga 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 chugga. But actually, it's already done, and all we're doing is reviewing. It's like we're watching a rerun on TV. We're
Right. You
watching a
can't get
show
it
that was
wrong.
a long time ago, and we're watching the whatever. And we're still telling him, hey, don't do that, or watching a rerun of the Super Bowl and saying, hey, get over there and catch that ball, or it's already happened, and we're just watching it. And what upsets us about it is the things that we think should be done differently. So we think it's something new. Oh shoot, what happened here? I'm sorry. Okay, so but then he says, time is a trick, a sleight of hand, a vast illusion in which figures come and go as if by magic. That's us being born into the world, living in the world.
Right.
But it's not really what's happening. Yet there is a plan behind appearances that does not change. The script is written. When experience will come to end your doubting has been set. That sentence right there. When experience will come to end your doubting has
Yeah, I
been set.
love that
The
because that's
time.
the thing.
Yeah.
Like I think that I'm doing a good job because I'm like, for now, I love the lesson. Last night, I was listening to Dove's A Course in Miracles support, and he was talking about, I don't know, lesson 25, I don't know what anything is for. And it just felt like Spirit guided me into just placing that as my mantra. Because as what I realize is that we won't ask spirit if we think we know. And a lot of times, if I just go with the wrong mind, I do think I know. And the problem is I know nothing. And that's what I have to really get. I know nothing. My opinions are absolutely meaningless. And yet, as an ego, you want to know things so you don't appear stupid. But to be stupid in this world is a gift. I mean, like, that Chauncey Garden you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, the whole point being that we're just experiencing it until we come to the place where doubting, where we end the doubt. When we
Yeah.
end the doubt, you know what? That is right now. That is always that time has been set, and the time is now. All we have to do is stop doubting and recognize that it's all happening just for our best interest. It's a simple thing.
Yeah,
So,
doubting though, I think what the interest, I'm sorry, Lynn, I was going to say
go
that
ahead.
doubting is actually, Chauncey Gardner's my hero, Dove said, when you look at the fact that, I lost the thought, um, that it says doubting, that doubting is happening through us, right? So it's not like I have to say, oh, I'll make a decision and not doubt. Because, when I was listening to Dove, I just felt like I don't know anything. And when I don't know anything and I open up to everything, then the higher self can really work through me and I can get out of the way. Because
Well,
it's actually
yeah, it's
yeah,
working through you now. All you're doing is blocking it.
that's
So,
right.
yeah, it's already here. That's what's so cool about it. It's already here, and it's just a decision, but it's a decision that is a moment by moment by moment decision too.
It really is. Because here's what Dove wrote. Look what he wrote here. Unless you experience the same warmth from everyone. And honestly, I mean, if I'm not in the ego, I do. But if I'm in the ego, I do like certain people more than others. It's just the way, and I love warmth. Let me say this. On an egoic level, I would have been friends with Bill, but not Helen. That's an egoic level. That's not who I am, though.
Yeah. Although you might be surprised because John was a good friend of Helen's. And to him, she was a warm and loving, like mother type figure. I think it's how you presented yourself to Helen as to how Helen was going to react back to you, just like you and just like all of us. It's how we present ourselves to
Yeah, but she
as
had
to
such a problem with like pronouns and nouns, and we only go by past. Like when we start describing another person, we're looking at our own filter, and our filter's like, well, I had a ninth grade English teacher that really drove that home. Pronouns, nouns, 3-minute quizzes, and what I mean by that is I can't know from the ego who I like because I'm always liking them from how I see me, right? And
yes.
when I see that I'm not a me and I am the I consciousness, the I infinite, there is nothing to not feel warmth for because the spirit, Holy Spirit's here. And that's the part to really focus on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. So, oh yeah, so I just was finishing reading this
I'm
paragraph.
sorry.
That's okay. Hey, I kind of lost my concentration too for a minute. Okay, so because I was thinking about that. So when experience will come to end your doubting has been set. The script is written. We already, and the time that an experience will come to end our doubting already has been set, whatever that experience may be. And it could be just the experience of recognizing, geez, what am I afraid of? Nothing is really happening here. And that will completely shift your entire ability to operate, right? Because you come into trust and Dove has posted the trusting mind is an open mind. The open mind sees everything in this world as a symbol, not as meaningful. And that's it. That's when we get to the place where we're looking and saying, what does this, this is showing me something. It's an arrow, it's a pointer, it's not a fact. It's a pointer that's telling me something. Glorian has her hand up. Please go ahead, Glorian.
Well, I really love this conversation and I love these two paragraphs. And a lot was coming to me here, doubt being error. And I think the end of it here, imagining we make it once again, reviewing mentally what has gone by. When we discipline ourselves to be the witness or the observer or the beholder, we start to reject all error. We discipline ourselves to reject all error, which is the doubt that Sharon was talking about, and accept the oneness that we truly are. So this is basically just stepping back and looking, and just witnessing it without being attached to it and recognizing that the error has no effect on the truth of who we are. And what Sharon was saying before, yeah, everything that we think we like this one, we don't, it's all coming from our past. Once we recognize that, when we have a thought, which is a judgment always, we can say, okay, where is this coming from? And it always comes from the past. But in that holy instant, in the moment, in the eternal now, we choose again. And, I've always, I don't know if anybody knows this, but one of my favorite images is that of the lion and the lamb. And I think Joel makes reference to it. Maybe it is in parenthesis. And, where ultimately what that image really represents is oneness. It's the laying down of the defense and the attack and coming into that space of oneness. So anyway, thanks, guys.
Thank you for that, Gloria.
That was beautiful.
Beautiful, beautifully shared. So, do you want to read or you want me to continue reading?
You
Or
can
you were
continue
with,
for a bit.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. You were reading, I just dropped in and took over. That's okay, and I know you don't mind that either.
No, I like to just join. I'm more interested in that.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, we're so alike. I just love that so much. Okay.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Patriotism was one of several factors in Bill's decision to join the CIA, though not the primary one. Someone asked Jack Luckett, one of Bill's closest friends in his later years, if he found Bill to be patriotic toward the end of his life. Jack replied, "Not in the normal sense. He saw himself as a citizen of the universe. He was secretly proud of his CIA connection, and because of my spook background, chatted with me about it. It was more pride in adventure than dedication to eliminating enemies." See, that's pretty cool too. That the reason he was doing this, he was doing all these different things, was because he had a sense of curiosity and adventure, and he wanted to know something. That's pretty cool. Um, so let's see, continuing on. The CIA's predecessor, the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, which was responsible for U.S. intelligence operations during World War II, was disbanded shortly after the war ended. At that time, however, the Cold War with the Soviet Union was intensifying, and the United States recognized the imperative need for strategic intelligence. After some reshuffling of functions into various other agencies, the National Security Act established the CIA in 1947. It was unorganized, had no official headquarters, and was generally a mess, bearing little resemblance to the present-day organization. And this is, what is this? William Newton Thetford and this Central Intelligence Agency. It must be an article or a book or something. As the global total Cold War gathered momentum, it became clear that the young CIA desperately needed help. An extraordinary network of civilian universities and government agencies had provided OSS with a steady stream of raw intelligence to guide the total war against Nazi Germany and Japan. In contrast, the young CIA in 1947 was treated like a stepchild, its experienced leadership in short supply, its actual and legal authority still unclear. The new CIA needed more than old files from the OSS. Their greatest need was for personnel. During hearings in the National Security Act of 1947, the new director of Central Intelligence, Alan Dulles, said, I wonder if that's who the airport's named after. The new intelligence entity would be directed by a relatively small but elite corps of men with a passion for anonymity and a willingness to stick at that particular job. The agency must have a core of the most competent men, which this country can produce to evaluate and correlate the intelligence obtained. And I'm just going to look real quick at what this came from. Let's see, number 22, William W. Whitson. Oh, okay. I guess Bill Whitson wrote a book called William Newton Thetford and the Central Intelligence Agency. Huh.
You talking about Judy Whitson's husband?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he wrote a book or an article about Bill and the CIA. So very interesting. It's all this stuff is so interesting. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you believe it? Um, let's see.
Where are you?
Yeah, and Dove says Bill was a son of the 4th of July, very patriotic. Yeah, I mean he passed on the 4th of July. What a great day to leave this world. Okay, so the challenge was how to recruit and evaluate this badly needed group of people. At that time, various schools of psychology had been around for about 100 years. They seemed to hold the keys to human behavior, a must-have for evaluating foreign leaders and how they might respond under different circumstances, and to methods for recruiting those essential intelligence agent officers. In 1950, the year before Bill was hired, the CIA had offered John Gittinger the position of director of its assessment and evaluation staff. Bill, hired in 1951 as one of about 10 senior psychologists at that time, worked for Gittinger in that department and would continue to work indirectly with him throughout much of his academic career. Bill made a tremendous impression on John made a tremendous impression on Bill and became a pivotal player in his life. Bill's duties included administering a series of tests to applicants seeking to become intelligence officers and or spies, then interviewing and recommending them or not. There was a sense of danger in the air and a great urgency about staffing up as the Cold War with the Soviet Union escalated and the Korean War progressed. Obviously, in screening potential hires, the psychologists needed insight, intuition, and the ability to read people accurately, all of which were Bill's strong suits. Because of the sensitive nature of his work, interviewing those who would be working for the agency in various intelligence capacities, Bill soon attained a top security clearance, something that usually took a while to earn. It would serve him later as his worldly saga unfolded. Working with the CIA offered Bill, in addition to his position on the assessment and evaluation team, the added opportunity to learn more about Gittinger's new project to assess people's capabilities under various conditions, stressful and otherwise. These innovations and their potential importance greatly impressed Bill, providing the next chapter of his series of psychological explorations. Gittinger had developed a process originally to describe the dynamics and adjustments of mental dysfunction, but later widely used as a technique for general psychological assessment. He reportedly was very charismatic and loved to talk for hours about his theories. An early colleague of Bill's reported, "You couldn't ignore John. He was there. He filled up a room. He was a Pied Piper guru type, interesting individual who developed a theory in terms of how people progress through life. I know Bill was intrigued and would often sit and listen to John expound his theories." I can just imagine that because I mean, I'm like that too. If I got somebody who has something interesting or knows something, I want to hear all about it. And I can just imagine just Bill just sitting and listening with rapt um, concentration.
It's
All
a
right.
lot. What Carol had write about is it's really like brilliant. I mean, the way she got everything down like this.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's great to
Sure.
know. I mean, honestly, it's great to know these things because it just adds to the dimension of, how it was that he was so, that, I mean, most let's face it, if you're working someplace, working for somebody, and you go up to them and say, "Hey, I've been hearing a voice and it's telling me to take notes and
Right.
what do you think I
Yeah,
should
they're
do?"
going to tell you you're crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna, but not Bill. Bill was like, "Oh, this is interesting," and you could see he
He
had
was open, wasn't he? He was open with Helen and
open-minded.
yeah, he was very open.
Yeah, very open-minded, and that, I mean, honestly, that's exactly what Helen needed. Even to even hire Helen when she called and said, "I was told to tell you I'm the person you're looking for." It's like mysterious voice. I think he said she even disguised her voice. But and he was like, "Okay, come on over," it just so interesting. Okay, so let's see
You
what
want me
time.
to read it? When you want me to read, just tell me.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah, so during is where we ended up.
During his first year with the CIA, Gittinger continued work on his
Oh,
model of
sorry.
on his model of personality development, newly named the Personality Assessment System, or PAS. For more than 2 decades, John and others, including Bill, continued to refine what eventually Bill considered the most powerful and efficient descriptive and predictive personality assessment system in the world. Deserving to be ranked with Freud and Jung's discoveries, leaders in intelligence circles wholeheartedly agreed with this assessment. At the time, CIA psychologists began to substitute such direct evidence as body language and overt behavior for the 1 hour test to access personality. However, the PAS remained the conceptual structure that guided any such assessment from direct observation. Using the PAS to analyze and make accurate predictions about key world leaders, Gittinger's advised several presidents under his retirement in 1978. As early as the Cuban Missile Crisis in October 1962, he confers with President Kennedy about the likely behavior of Nikolai, I can't say this name,
Khrushchev.
Khrushchev, under stress. The astonishing accuracy of the PAS eventually won for Gittinger's promotion to the role of chief psychologist of CIA for worldwide operations. Early in our friendship, Bill told me more than once about his helping to develop a test that could ferret out potential double agents. It seemed to have some special appeal to him as he became more animated when he spoke of it. I knew nothing about CIA's early history at that point and couldn't fully appreciate the scope of the work and Bill's major contributions to refining that assessment tool. But I did recognize his enthusiasm. Even as a young man, when it came to understanding human behavior, Bill was already in the vanguard. Kittinger recognized that talent. As David Goldrich, a colleague of Bill's, reported, John was not a doctor of psychology. He had a master's degree in counseling. That's not a big deal, but I think it was John, so someone with Bill's credentials was very attractive to him. And obviously, he held a most favorable opinion of him. Everyone who worked with Bill realized he was an extremely bright guy. John considered Bill one of his real prodigies. Basically, John was a very human guy, always somewhat overweight, and as a part of his theory, he believed that people were born with or soon acquired something that either made them attractive or unattractive to people. He believed the world treated the cute baby or the attractive little child very differently, allowing them to develop a totally different perspective than people like John believed himself to be. A great deal of John's thinking was that those unattractive people had to compensate. That was his own self-account, right? He could only see himself. That's why he felt that way, right? He only saw his own mind. That's the way he believed about himself, I guess. John was motivated by a sincere desire to be helpful to the agency, and he was. He also had a huge investment in his theory and had at least as much ego as the rest of us, if not more. Okay, I'm going to feed my dog while you read this part because he's ready to kill me. Okay, I'll be right there.
I can see the headlines. Pennsylvania woman killed and eaten by scruffy dog.
He's a little bit of a bully, my dog. He really is.
Oh, aren't they all?
Yeah, they're just very neat. The neediness and that's a good
Yeah.
point.
Well, you think about it, they're so helpless. I mean, really, they have totally depend on you for
They
everything.
depend on us and all they can do is just be nags. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Nagging away.
Yeah, all right. The purpose of the PAS is to predict a person's future behavior so that the responding behavior can be appropriate in relation to it. Where you cannot give the test directly, as for instance to a foreign leader, it is important to have ways to determine the personality that underlies observable behavior, thus making it possible to predict that person's future actions. Obviously, greater comprehension of human behavior is very important in many other areas, as well. All types of counseling and psychotherapy, personnel work, classroom assessments, crime detection and prevention, to name a few, and of course, foreign relations. And boy, I think that's very true because you see these foreign leaders on press conferences or interacting with other other foreign leaders, and you can always tell which one of them are the narcissists, and they're walking past the queen and pushing her to the side as they walk by so that they could be in the spotlight. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. You really do get a picture of what their personality is like. Okay. According to the Personality Assessment System Foundation website, the PAS contributes to the prediction of behavior in several ways. It indicates the kinds of, and these are bullet points here for those who are listening. It indicates the kinds of internal and external cues the individual is most likely to respond to overtly. 2, it suggests the types of stimuli most likely to produce behavior change. 3, it provides an understanding of the quality of environments in which the individual is most likely to behave efficiently. 4, it offers insight into situations that are stressful for the individual. 5, it permits prediction of the probable nature of the maladjusted behavior, should maladjusted behavior occur. So if you understand how this works and you're familiar with the different types of things, you can really get some insight into how people are going to act and react depending on whatever the situation may be. So the PAS thus contributes to individual assessment by providing practical insights into highly personalized pattern of strength and weaknesses. At the same time, the system allows objective comparisons among the personality features of different individuals, thereby offering a suitable framework for behavioral research and definitive investigations of personality structure and functions. In other words, the PAS is an elaborate system for describing how personality is built from infancy through adolescence and all the compensations required when we reject our innate characteristics and inclinations when we are not self-accepting. This applies to every person born. A Course in Miracles also speaks with revealing eloquence on this subject, though with a decidedly different slant. Okay, and this is from the Course. The building of a concept of the self is what the learning of the world is for. This is its purpose, that you come without a self and make one as you go along. And by the time you reach maturity, you have perfected it to meet the world on equal terms at one with its demands. A concept of the self is made by you. It bears no likeness to yourself at all. It is an idol made to take the place of your reality as Son of God. And let me look here real quick.
I like more when they talk about the course. The other stuff, I know the Myers-Briggs and all that, but I don't dislike it, but and yes, I think you're right. It's helpful, but I
Right.
hope it stops soon.
Yeah. Well, no, because I mean, it's kind of what gives us an understanding of
Right, of the
how
background.
Bill came about, what he came about,
Mhm.
and we can talk about the course, and I love that. So that'll be it's always interesting to see where he got this from, and the fact that this is working in our own government. Even now, this is working in our own government. This is how, and there's probably governments around the world who are using this same resource for their operation. And people are using it if they're going to hire you for a job. People are using it for so many things. And as a result, excuse me for making that loud noise. The thing is then that is kind of helping to move along the world to an understanding of the ego. Whereas, before they had tools like this, they really didn't have a clear picture of how the
That's
ego
very true. Yes, I
forms.
agree. Very true.
So this is out there in the public now, and people are learning it in school. Kids are learning it, whatever. People in business are learning it, and so when they were confronted then with something like the course that says this is what really happened here. You made this up, and here's how you did it. It's a lot easier to buy because you got you have all this behind you experience. Okay, so here's another quote from the course. You will make concepts of the self as learning goes along. Each one will show the changes in your own relationships as your perception of yourself is changed. There will be some confusion every time there is a shift, but be you thankful that the learning of the world is loosening its grasp upon your mind. And be you sure and happy in the confidence that it will go at last and leave your mind at peace. This too is from the course, and like I said, it makes it easier when we understand that there's a you know knowledge in the world that this is true, and I that's how I was able to accept so much of this, was because I already had psychology. So
I did too. And the other thing is, yeah, I had psychology in college and I also was in therapy. I always found psychology so interesting. And I still do when I want to learn things about someone. But the truth is it's a distraction for me now because I don't need to learn anything anymore because everybody's the Christ. However, I do feel like this background she's giving us is like what Ken would talk about. He said, without Freud, we wouldn't have the course. You see, every actor on the screen in the play is playing their part perfectly.
yep. Yep. And thank God, that people said yes when they were asked, you want to come and play this part? Thank God you, Sharon, and me, Lynn,
I don't
not
think people have a choice because I think we're being completely lived by the one. I don't know if you have
well,
a
no, we have to have had a choice. If we didn't have a
maybe
choice,
before we
then
got here.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
We had to have had a choice, or else we wouldn't have. This would not have. Uh, I mean, this whole thing would be worthless.
right.
It's not like if we were being forced into it, it would just be a terrible thing. But I think, oh, and there's a cat out in my hall that's causing a problem. Uh, I might have to go check on that. You want to read a
Yes.
paragraph or two here while I
Okay.
go see what cat problem?
Working with John Kittinger, Bill was becoming enamored with the PAS. This was very sophisticated process of describing how personality is built and under what conditions. The Myers-Briggs test, excellent and helpful though it is, does not have this level of sophistication. ACM had not yet been written, although it would have much to say about personality development in years to come. Stop that. We can already look ahead and compare the foundations on which the PAS is built to those of the course and the life-altering decision that lay ahead for Bill. Referencing personality development, William Newton Thetford and the Central Intelligence Agency, includes a first-hand description of 27-year-old Bill by one of his colleagues in 1950. Realizing that no observation is objective but colored by the mindset of the observer, I think the correlations between the theory of Bill's personality, see Appendix 1, and this firsthand account are worth noticing. Now, this looks like a long one coming up, so I'm going to stop. Because Myrna and do you hear my dog? I mean, this is like, I've trained this dog to be the boss of me.
And your dog is growling at you. And
Well,
did
you know why? Because he wants more to eat. And I gave him stuff to eat, but he's just, forget it. He's high maintenance is what he is.
That's crazy. You know, it's really funny. That's my cats. I just was, this is so sweet and funny. We have all these cats, and it's just not my choice. I'm allergic to cats. So,
Oh.
but we have all these cats, and this one cat that came to us a couple of years ago, and she was the neighbor's cat. And when the neighbor's house got raided by the FBI, she came running over here, and so we had now this cat, and she had babies, but she is not a socialized cat at all. I mean, she does not have any kind of social, she does nothing. So for the most part, the entire time she's been here, and this has been several years, and we have one of her babies here. For the most part, the entire time she's been here, she just hides someplace. She's just hiding all the time, and she may come out a little bit, come out and eat, come out and do this. So I finally set it up so that the bathroom that's right outside of my door here, I put a litter box in there and put a little bed in there for her, so she can be there. And so now she's my cat, and she comes up to me and lets me pet her, and she begs me to pet her now, which she never interacted with people before. Never. She purrs.
She senses your energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
She senses your energy. Beautiful energy you have. You do. You have the most loving heart. And that that just comes through. Now, everybody's the same, as Dove says, but there's some personalities that just are like, I guess they're more effusive or whatever.
I don't know. I don't even like cats. That's the thing. I'm not a cat person. So, but what happened just now was that when I came back in here, I must have left my door partly open, and so she will come and sit by my door and wait for me to come out. And so she was probably either in here, just at the door or whatever. And one of the other cats came up, and she was like, "No, you're not coming in here." She was growling at him, "Get out of here." I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my
they talk to us, and they're
She's
just as
protecting me.
there's Regis too. I was wondering when Regis, you're going to come back to teaching.
He's a busy man.
He's what?
He's a busy man. He's up to something. So
Oh, he's working in his house.
I'm never too busy.
all right, I'm going to go ahead and stop this.
Lynn,
YouTube
thank you
feed
for
sharing.